Welcome back, everybody. Can I just mention their transmog in that little video is just epic. That's a good transmog. But anyway, we are back. We are about to go into Blank Esports versus Rockets Eclipse. We just were taking a look at Blank Esports there, talking a little bit. Of course, they are the team from Australia that was able to work their way through the Asia Pacific regionals to make it here to opening week. From what Unix was saying there, it sounds like they're feeling a little bit like the underdog in this series.
Yeah, it's hard not to. I feel like they're going up against a very solid team. I mean, their region traditionally hasn't been the strongest, but I think they have a solid composition. Like they said, they're not afraid to get aggressive, and I feel like that can really help you in a tournament situation like this. I think it's better to be that aggressive team, forcing your opponents to sort of make mistakes and play really correctly, really perfectly, and hopefully they can score that kill.
Yeah. So we're going to actually take a real quick look at Group B to show how things are standing currently in there. Of course, this first round we're about to see is going to be Blank Esports versus Rockets Eclipse. After that, we'll have ABC versus Sneaky Snakes, followed up later by Method Synergy versus Imagine PvP. So overall, this group, we were talking earlier about how Group A felt sort of like the group of death because there were so many like strong BlizzCon contenders in that group. Such as Method Triforce, who we were just watching a second ago. But now here in Group B, who do you guys think are probably the favorites to make it out of this group?
This is a tough one.
Yeah, this is a close group, right? I mean, I think for me, at least one of the series I'm really looking forward to here is Method Synergy versus Imagine PvP. I think Method Synergy, it's been kind of public that they've been having some problems. They've managed to resolve the majority of those on site here, which is fantastic to see, right? Because we want North America's strongest team at their strongest. Yeah. But the China region is looking so strong this year. We already saw their #1 team, but this is Dark Archon. This is China's MVP for many people. Xeon as well has played in multiple GCDs, and that's going to be a crazy series.
One thing I would actually like to note is when we got a chance to sit down and talk with Pen and Paper, they actually said even though they won the China regionals, they were first place, they said the other Chinese team is better. They said they're better in this meta. They think that they're going to go further than them. So for the worst Chinese team to do such a good job versus Splice, saying that Pen and Paper says Imagine PvP is going to be better, that is going to be a really interesting series. I'm really excited to watch that one.
Yeah, definitely. So there's more than enough awesome games coming up still today. And plus, at the end of those games, we will have to figure out who is being eliminated from Group A as well as who's being eliminated from Group B. So there's still quite a bit to come. But we are just about to get into this very first game between Rockets Eclipse and Blank Esports. Of course, this is going to be a double blind pick here on the Grand Arena. What do you guys think we're going to see?
Well, I think for Blank, it's going to be obvious they're going to be running that Windwalker DK, and we can actually see it on the screen, so it doesn't really matter what I think. Rockets Eclipse is going to be coming in with that Elemental Shaman, Warrior, Resto Druid. This is a comp we've seen throughout this tournament so far. It seemed very strong. I think this is going to be a very difficult matchup for Blank.
Yeah, so definitely one of the things that Blank Esports thought might advantage them. You can see that blinding light on your screens, one of the cooldowns for Unix. That's quite aggressive. It means, of course, your Hodge, your Hammer of Justice, your stun is a shorter range, so you have to really push and get aggressive on that Holy Paladin, but they actually thought that might advantage them, the fact that they can play that aggressive style, which some of the other Windwalker DKs that are playing perhaps the Resto Shaman or the Resto Druid can't do.
One thing I'll be looking for in this game to see if Primes is going to be playing that Tiger Eye Brew specialization. It can be very strong to pierce through some of that Elemental Shaman arm. We'll have to see if he uses that Fist of Fury stun or if he spams out those spinning crane kicks to build up that buff. Looks like Jamie is the target of choice very early on with a nice Hodge over onto Leanne. Streaming taking a little bit of crossfire as well, but this is the pillar. Everything coming out from Blank very early on. Blinding Light over onto Leanne. They're looking to all in Jamie very early on. Astral Shift should be enough to diffuse that, but Leanne just cannot get any healing out. Jamie doing an excellent job kiting though, and he's going to be completely fine.
Yeah, and one of the other things to note here is he is running the Whirling Dragon Punch as opposed to Serenity. You can see on the left of your screen Primes with that Storm, Earth, and Fire, and that's going to spread very well with the, of course, the change recently to the Thunder Eye Brew, as we were saying. So those images doing slightly more damage, benefiting from that, and that means maybe they can get a bit of pressure here, but ultimately it looks like most of the damage is onto Jamie.
Yep, Jamie taking a little bit of damage right now, but he has stabilized completely. Another Incapacitate over onto Leanne. Blank Esports looking to get aggressive once again. Nice leg sweep over onto Leanne. He trinkets immediately. Doesn't want to overlap the Barskin with the trinket. Just trinkets, displaces away into bear form. That should be enough. Prime's looking to get aggressive on him, though. Caught into the bash into a full Cyclone, so he's going to have to sit that. That should be enough time to give Leanne a chance to stabilize his team. Streaming having to use that AMS. This is a nightmare situation. As that Frost Deathline, it's so difficult to get pressure on the Elemental Shaman. They have very good kite ability. You have a Warrior just snaring you the entire game, so this is very difficult, but a lot of pressure over onto Jamie right now. No Astral Shift available, but Leanne tossing in that Iron Bark causing Jamie to be a little bit more tanky and increasing the amount of healing that he does get.
Yeah, Jamie is getting put under a lot of pressure here. You can see Lian's one of the first healers we've seen running the PvP trinket rather than the Relentless, which means he is getting caught up in a fair bit of that crowd control from both Primes and Unix. And Jamie isn't able to get too much damage out. He's having to sit in the Ghost Wolf for the kiting, but it's not really helping him get away. We can see streaming, they're getting a bit of pressure onto him, but ultimately, I think the game plan for Rocket's Eclipse is to just try and keep Jamie alive and try and wear down that blue mana bar on Unix. If they can do that, that's definitely a win condition for them.
Nice hex coming in from Jamie. Unix going to trinket out of that immediately. That means he has no trinket available. Still can always fall back on that bubble if he needs to. Streaming taking a lot of damage right now. Still has the reset with his Icebound Fortitude, but really just having a difficult time to connect to his target. Jamie doing an excellent job kiting. He actually used the Astral Shift. I'm not exactly sure why. So using that Astral Shift, preventing really not too much damage. He was able to kite away, so didn't get too much value out of it there. That might be an opening for Blank Esports. Pillar of Frost has been popped. A lot of pressure going to be coming out from Blank Esports. Lian also tossing in that Iron Bark as well, but they're able to shred through it a little bit. Big heals coming in onto Jamie. Nerd Rage taking a little bit of that residual cleave damage coming in from that Frost Death Knight, so Lian's going to have to stabilize him, but Streaming still in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, good grip stun coming out there from the team of Blank Esports, and as you were saying, Ven, the Astral Shift may be a little bit preemptive, forced out the Iron Bark as well, but they did commit the Remorseless Winter and the Pillar of Frost for that. Can they get aggressive with the next Touch of Death is going to be the question, of course. That's up in 20 seconds before any of those defensives, but just passively, Jamie dropping a little bit low. He does have that Thunderstorm if he wants to knock his opponents away, but it's not enough right now. He's really struggling to kite. You can see Nerd Rage just being slowed and slowed. Can't really keep up to his targets because of those Chains of Ice and the Ride the Wind from Blank Esports.
Yeah, Unix sitting down for a drink, causing Streaming to have to use that Icebound Fortitude, so not going to have that defensive cooldown to rely on. Full Hodge over on Lian. Going to be followed up with that Blinding Light, more than likely. Jamie could be in a lot of trouble right now. Lian trinketing out of that immediately, though, so Trinket is down. Iron Bark going to be available. Lian now caught into that incapacitate, but Streaming cannot connect. Prime's using that Ride the Wind, though. It's going to allow Streaming to get a little bit more mobility and finally connect over onto Jamie. A lot of pressure coming in from Blank Esports, but Jamie still into that Ghost Wolf, trying to kite around. Stormkeeper has been popped. Streaming going to be in a lot of trouble. He realizes this, drops that anti-magic zone, but a grip over onto Lian. Nice swap onto him. He has no Trinket, but Barkskin gets forced out, still getting lower and lower. Frenzied Regen should be enough to keep him alive. Jamie spamming out some heals and spamming out some counter pressure as well. Streaming caught into a full Stormbolt now, but it looks like not too much damage coming in from Rockets.
Yeah, Ride the Wind is just such a nuisance for the Elemental Shaman, right? I mean, the way he wants to survive is by kiting this Death Knight. Death Knight's traditionally not that mobile, but of course it gives you the freedom, gives you the 40% movement increase. Jamie just cannot get away. He is being pummeled this entire game. There's no PvP trinket on Lian. The Astral Shift is now available, so they do have the answers, but he's just not getting out enough damage. On the flip side, though, Unix dropping lower and lower on mana. He has been going for those drinks, but they're doing a good job of stopping him. When he runs dry, Paladins really struggle when they're out of mana.
Yeah, Lian might be in a lot of trouble here. He has no Barskin for another 10 seconds. He needs to play exceptionally passive. You can see him on the pillar. He does not want to get death gripped into a leg sweep. That will surely be the end of the game. So playing very, very safely into that bear form, just topping off his team. Not a lot of pressure coming in from Blank Esports at this point of the game. So Lian able to just play very passive. Unix almost completely We are not even into dampening right now, so you can just tell how much pressure Jamie and Nerd Rage are putting out onto this Windwalker and this Death Knight. Full Hodge over onto Lian. Still no trinket available. Followed up by the Blinding Light. Jamie needs to be able to survive. He's doing a good job kiting, but unfortunately Streaming cannot connect right now. The Stormbolt over on Nerd Rage. Ride the Wind going to be enough. Finally able to get to Jamie, but still Nerd Rage just doing a good job healing in this game. Lian positioned very far away. That's incapacitate over onto him, but he was able to get out enough healing where Jamie really doesn't feel threatened.
Yeah, it was a really nice swap coming out of Blank Esports, but Jamie was able to preemptively get that Astral Shift on the stun, so Syndragoza was able to come in, but it wasn't enough damage quite. Lian, he's taking a little bit here. We can see the chilling Disorient onto him is going to deny some of that healing, but he's just able to kite away. He's going to push for the Cyclones now on Linux. That's going to be the bubble. It won't be enough, though, most likely. Streaming without that Icebound Fortitude. Huge heal with the Divine Favor will keep him alive, but you feel like they're on their last limbs. Blank Esports up against it here in game one.
Yeah, Unix going for that drink. Lian says no way. He charged in, stopped it, and got a full Cyclone onto Unix, which he had to bubble to keep Streaming alive. So really good job there by Lian, realizing the situation, and now this is looking very, very dire for Blank Esports. Unix completely tapped. This is his wings as well, so if that falls, his healing might not be enough, but they might have one last opportunity on Jamie here. Iron Bark should be able to shut it down, though. Jamie still just kiting around. He realizes if they can live, if Rocket's Eclipse can live just a little bit longer, they basically default win this game, but they get the nice triple stun. Leg sweep. Jamie could get bursted down here. No Astral Shift still available for 4 seconds. He needs to kite away. He needs to be able to live a little bit longer. Full bash over on the Streaming. He might have wanted to actually use that Icebound Fortitude to get aggressive there. Finally going to use it. Able to reset his HP a little bit. and Unix was able to sit down for a drink, which is so huge.
Yeah, I think that was the big theme of that aggression. Jamie didn't have anything left, so they had to play defensive, and Unix used that opportunity to get about 30% of his mana bar. Very effective for him. We can see Jamie dropping low once again, and Lian is actually behind on mana right now, so they need to be careful. They do have the defensive cooldowns though, PvP Trinket and Astral Shift available for them, but look at the side of Blank Esports. They also have a fair bit. We can see Touch of Death being committed now, trading out that Astral Shift immediately, Jamie.
Yep, so a Touch of Death is going to tick here. Iron Bark still available for Lian as well. They might have to use both of those cooldowns. It's not a situation you want to be in. Streaming still getting kited though, taking a lot of pressure from Nerd Rage at this point in the game. Unix getting lower and lower, trying to get out that tier's Deliverance. The Powers healing a little bit. Full Incapacitate over onto Lian. Not going to be able to get too much done. Lian actually looking like he might have wanted to go for a drink there, but opting to just try to close out this game with that full Cyclone over onto Unix. He does have Trinket available, but no defensive cooldowns whatsoever. Blank Esports is in a lot of trouble, but Rockets Eclipse, really all they have to fall back on is the Trinket of Lian, as well as that Iron Bark, but I really think that's going to be enough to keep them alive.
Yeah, I wonder, Nerd Rage is struggling so much to connect to his target. You can see him once again here, slowed by the Chains of Ice, and the people are kiting away from him with the Ride the Wind. I wonder if he could just swap over to Unix. A little bit of pressure should be able to generate over there, but instead he's going to keep trying to peel for Jamie, trying to play this defensive strategy. It's been working for them so far. We can see though a lot of problems are coming on the side of Rockets Eclipse. They do have a fair bit of damage over onto streaming right now, but the Wings is available for Unix. He should be able to heal through this damage, and Jamie just cannot get away.
Yeah, this is the Pillar of Frost as well. Blank Esports looking to get aggressive. Unix charging in, looking for that Hodge. Doesn't have the Blinding Light though, so Prime's going to have to get that Incapacitate if they want to have any chance of actually landing a kill here. Full leg sweep into Incapacitate, but he left a little bit of an opening there in his CC chain, so Jamie was able to get a big heal. That little misplay may have cost them this kill and this setup. Full bash over onto Primes now into that Cyclone, so Lian doing a good job crowd controlling. Stormkeeper has been used by Jamie, looking to get super aggressive on streaming, but he's fine. Uses the EMS, deflects that incoming damage. Unix though, no mana whatsoever, 22% dampening. I don't know how he's going to be able to heal through this much longer.
Yeah, so this is the offensive cooldowns from Blank Esports. You can see Touch of Death, 10 seconds. Breathless Intergrows and Pillar of Frost also coming up very, very soon. If they can survive till those cooldowns, that's going to be their win condition, but they cannot. Streaming will die to the execute of Nerd Rage. If they bought another few seconds, maybe they could have turned up, but still the Astral Shift. And it was one of these cases where Rockets Eclipse, they looked like they were maybe struggling, but they always had the answers, and they were able to take game one.
Yeah, definitely. That was a very very interesting game for a lot of reasons. I think one of the biggest ones is watching Blank Esports there. There were a few situations where, there's one in particular towards the end that I'm thinking of, where we saw Primes put the leg sweep onto Jamie, but he was pretty close to Lian at the time. If they could have gotten a death grip onto Lian to pull him over into that and gotten a double leg sweep, I think they may have actually been able to get a kill there. But there's those little bit, like, using the leg sweep without the death grip is almost kind of a waste of the leg sweep in that sort of situation. So I don't know. I feel like Blank Esports definitely has the ability to win against Rockets Eclipse here. It's just they need to tighten up just a little bit.
Definitely. I think Blank Esports came out swinging. I think they had a lot of pressure that whole game. I think they were basically the ones on the offense the whole game. And what's interesting is we actually saw this exact matchup early in the tournament and didn't look anything like this. It looked like the Thunder was being more aggressive, and Rockets Eclipse, their game plan was just survive. They knew their win condition was mana, and even though Unix got an incredible drink off when they had a defensive push, they weren't able to get it done.
Yeah, definitely. That drink actually was pretty huge as well. The fact that he was able to get that in there. He was basically tapped on mana, got himself up to about 30%, and then was ahead of Lian on mana for a while, but obviously the strength of the Resto Druid with those heal over time effects was able to play into that dampening just a little bit more and be able to keep his teammates alive for just a little bit longer. We also saw basically at that point was the point where Blank Esports started to have to play a little bit more defensively. They were pulling back a little bit more, which was causing early on in the game, like you said, they were able to stay so aggressive that that Rockets Eclipse wasn't really able to do much in the way of damage. But as soon as Blank Esports let off that pressure, then Rockets Eclipse was suddenly like, okay, we're just going to kill you now at this point.
Yeah,
So.
It's a difficult spot to be in. It really seems like Blank is kind of on a time limit. You know, they were aggressive, like Sidu said, throughout the entire game. They did a good job creating that pressure and that momentum, but as the game goes on, it just feels like it's not in their favor. Rockets Eclipse is going to be doing more consistent damage. That Elemental Shaman going to be able to kite that Frost Death Knight quite a bit, and mana just seems to lean in the favor of that Restoration Druid, especially in that late game.
Yeah, and you can see the results of our Twitch poll now as well on your screen. 26% of people favoring Blank Esports was 74% going for Rockets Eclipse. After that first game, I definitely think that that's a safe bet, but those 26% that voted for Blank Esports, I still think there's a good chance that they can turn this back around.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really took away from this game was the difference between Swapsy on the Shaman and Jamie on the Shaman. Swapsy, we were talking about them. They've won it twice. They have a lot of confidence, willing to play incredibly aggressively and just end the game. Jamie, on the flip side, they had a very different win condition. They were playing for the mana on Unix, and he was more than happy to just kite away in Ghost Wolf, not do high damage. I'm willing to bet if we look at the damage boards, he'll have been out damaged by everyone else on the map. But this is his first BlizzCon, right? These guys have put so much work in. Cervantes had to do so much to even get here to the tournament. These guys really want this, and they're willing to put in that work.
And the thing about Rockets Eclipse too, this is one of the first times we've seen them not play that TSG setup throughout all of the qualification process, as well as the European regionals. They played that Death Knight Warrior Resto Druid basically exclusively. So now coming out in game number 1 of this BlizzCon tournament, playing a different composition, it really shows that they have sort of diversified and they realize they need to change, and it seems to be working for them so far.
Yeah, so here in the draft, we can see that Blank Esports has chosen Blackrook Hold Arena for the next game. Rockets Eclipse going with the TSG that you were just talking about. Or no, excuse me, that's actually a Thundercleave that they're going with here. With Nerd Rage on the Warrior, Jamie on the Elemental Shaman, and Leanne on the Resto Druid once again. So going back in with the same composition here on Blackrook Hold Arena. We'll have to see what Blank Esports is going to lock in.
Well, Blank Esports is one of the teams that put the most emphasis on what they want to do with the maps. They said that's something that they think other teams underestimate, maybe don't put as much time into. So them picking Blackrook Hold is something that they definitely have thought through. They think it's their best chance to win. I'm not sure if they want to switch up the healer or anything. We've seen Holy Priest get swapped out when fighting the Thundercleave earlier. I don't know if that's a good decision. I haven't played the matchup too much, but definitely Blackrook Hold must be the map for them. So I'm expecting this to probably go back to a 1-1.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that really talks about the confidence of these teams is that when that map was locked in, Rockets Eclipse immediately locked in the Thundercleave. No hesitation on their side, whereas Blank Esports, like Cedar was saying, a little bit of thinking about how do they want to use this map, but we can see Unix is going to be bringing that Paladin once again.
Yep, they're going with the Windwalker DK once again. Just because I like making chi puns, sometimes I like to call this chi SG, but that's a bit of a stretch because it's Windwalker DK. It's not really TSG. It doesn't really play like TSG.
I always thought TSG was TSG with a Mistweaver.
So what I was told, and this may be incorrect, is it's Chi SG if it's a Windwalker and it's TS Chi if it's a Mistweaver.
It's too confusing for me.
This conversation's really important.
I prefer Windwalker, Death Knight, Paladin, like the good old days. But yeah, this composition here, this Windwalker DK, I think on the smaller map, Blackrook Hold Arena, it's going to be much easier for, Primes to get those incapacitates onto Leanne. He's not going to be able to get away from the death grips coming in from streaming as well. I just think Blank Esports is going to have a much easier time getting off their setups, which is what obviously causes all those pressure. When you grip in, you get the double stuns, you get those incapacitates, you get the Hodge. That's where they get all their pressure and momentum from. They need that crowd control. They're not going to win in an outright damage fest, the Elemental Shaman and that Warrior. That's their advantage, live long, do damage, survive, and you'll eventually win. They just need to survive these setups, and I think on this map it's going to be much more difficult.
Yeah, definitely. On Blackrook Hold Arena, it's so much harder to actually get away. Even if you can get back into one of the cubs, the little cubbies on the side, or get out of line of sight from the pillar, it doesn't take long to get back over there and reconnect. So we'll see how well this plays out here. We do have the game now getting started here. This is going to be game 2 between Rockets Eclipse and Blank Esports. Rockets Eclipse up 1-0, but now we are heading to Blackrook Hold, and we'll see how this goes.
Now we have to see if the Death Knight did join the game, of course, streaming, not showing up in the UI just yet. Hopefully he will have, but of course, we already said that with Blank Esports, they lost the first game, so they set the map, they set the arena for this, but Jamie sets the pace of the game. He's the one that they have to tunnel down as the Windwalker Death Knight, so he can basically choose any point on this map and say, hey, this is where we're going to play. For him, I think that should most likely be the open space, because if he's heading towards those rooms, he's going to end up stacking up a lot with Leanne, and that's going to make it very difficult for Leanne to avoid those grip stuns.
Look at that full Stormbolt onto streaming immediately. Nerd Rage wants to slow down some of this damage. He's got Battle Cry as well, looking to get aggressive very early on. That's the full Hodge into Blinding Light onto Leanne. Blank Esports pulling the trigger. Jamie trying to survive with that Astral Shift and kiting away, but looks like he's still taking a fair bit of damage. Freedom over onto streaming. That's going to be key. They need those Blessing of Freedoms onto streaming when they are doing those burst chains over onto Jamie so he doesn't get kited. Jamie just cannot get away. Leanne's might possibly have to throw out that Iron Bark, but he's in a good position right now, able to just spam out those healing touches, and Jamie should be completely fine.
Yeah, I really like how Blank Esports played this. They just ran in, used every cooldown. You can see the Breath of Cinder Groza and the Pillar of Frost immediately trying to unknow Rocket Eclipse, but they couldn't. They only got the Astral Shift. Any lesser team might have also overlapped the Iron Bark there, but they see Touch of Death is still available for Primes. They knew that not everything was committed by Blank, and the split of the cooldowns, although caught up into the double stun, could be detrimental to them.
Yeah, the triple leg sweep coming in. Lian caught into the Fist of Fury as well. That was a nice knock coming in from Jamie, though, slowing down some of this damage coming in from Streaming and Prime. So well done by him. And you can see the positioning here. Jamie doing an excellent job using that elevation to sort of leap and hop around, making it very difficult for Streaming to reconnect. But a nice Blessing of Freedom going to come in. Jamie immediately purging that, dispelling it. Wraith Walk as well. So now Streaming and Primes have this opportunity to put out some damage, but Lian just so far away. Primes cannot get that incapacitate he needs to sort of get this pressure rolling. Not able to land that CC. This is beautiful positioning coming in from Lian. Actually pre-Iron Barking that incapacitate. It gets gripped into that Fist of Fury stun. Barkskin has been committed, but possibly way too late. Trying to tank through this damage in bear form. He displaces away. Prime's in full aggro mode right now. Streaming actually caught into a Stormbolt as well. So a lot of pressure coming in from both teams. Streaming might not want to, he might not want to reconsider pushing in this far at this point of the game. Unix going to have a difficult time healing him if he does chase into that room. So good positioning by Lian.
Yeah, both of these teams playing on a very high level. You can see every time they swap over to Jamie, he's moving towards that second tier. He wants to be able to use the Gust of Wind every 15 seconds to hop up, and that's why they're struggling to swap over to him, though. We can see the Blinding Light into the Hodge on Lian. He's trying to sit through this with the Astral Shift. Looks like Jamie should be able to kite away and survive, but because of that, they're doing the swaps over onto Lian a little bit more, which I really like actually from the Windwalker DK. If they can catch him in the incap, into the Death Grip, into the stuns out of form, they can definitely get that kill.
Yeah, that might want to, they might want to shift their focus onto Lian a little bit more. Iron Bark going to be tossed onto him, but it seems like, Blank Esports, they're getting most of their pressure, most of their momentum from those grips, with Streaming getting lower and lower, actually having to toss out that Icebound forward to get some healing on himself. Key defensive cooldown that has now been eaten up, so he's not going to have that available. Lian still has his Trinket, but no Iron Bark, no Astral Shift. If Blank Esports can get one good go, a Pillar of Frost coming up in 35 seconds. Rocket's Eclipse not really going to have an answer. I guess they have the Iron Bark, so Lian's doing a good job really trading out that Iron Bark for that Pillar of Frost, which is really good. Jamie once again leaping away from Streaming. Streaming just got to be so frustrated in this situation. Just cannot connect to the target he wants. Maybe Blank Esports, they need to turn their attention over onto Nerd Rage. Keep him honest, not in battle stance, but a nice grip leg sweep. Lian's going to trinket out of that, immediately displace away. Going to be completely fine, but Blank Esports doing a good job. They got that Trinket, and now they have an opportunity on their next grip leg sweep. Yeah,
there's definitely some Method-esque play about Rocket Eclipse. You can see they're basically just playing this brick wall. No overlaps ever with their defensive cooldowns. Lian, we've talked about his progression from 2016, where he was making some of those mistakes on the Mistweaver Monk, to now where he's looking like one of the most solid healers that Europe has to offer. And they're just playing it so well. Even Nerd Rage is coming in with the peels when he needs to. Jamie just able to kite away, and they're running down that mana bar once again on Unix down to about 20%. And on the smaller map, it's going to be really hard for him to get those drinks.
Yeah, Jamie's going to Trinket Astral Shift, wants to prevent this damage. A lot of pressure coming in from Blank Esports. This is the CC chain over onto Lian. Jamie needs to be able to survive. He gets gripped back though with the freedom onto Streaming. He's not going to get peeled away. Jamie getting lower and lower. Lian having to toss out that Iron Bark to prevent some of this damage, but that's every single defensive cooldown forced out by Rocket's Eclipse. Full stun over onto Primes. Going to get some pressure over onto him. Full Fist of Spear stun over onto Nerd Rage as well as Jamie. Jamie gets topped off, but that was every defensive eaten up there. So Rocket's Eclipse could be in a lot of trouble, but they've managed to stabilize. Streaming getting lower and lower. AMS available. Might have to use it. Unix mana not looking good. Dampening should be kicking in very, very shortly.
Yeah, it was all the defensives, but it was exchanged for all the offensives on the side of Blank Esports. You can see that Pillar of Frost coming up soon, though. If they can get the grips done, I don't actually like this using the Fist of Fury here. I'd rather waited, as Josh was talking to, between the games for that triple stun. We see it now, but Jamie just able to move away, use those healing surges because of the mismatch with the stuns there. That could have been the opportunity for Blank Esports, but now you can see Iron Bark's up in 13, Astral Shift's up in about 20, Rocket's Eclipse are starting to rotate, and as you can see, Unix down on cooldowns, down on mana, and almost out of this game.
Yeah, Blank Esports pulling the trigger a little bit early, allowing Jamie to actually get a Hex on that setup, so Primes wasn't able to really get anything going. Nicely done by Jamie defusing that situation. Streaming trying to reconnect with that freedom. Little Fist of Fury going to be tossed over onto Lian, trying anything he can to get some pressure going, force out that bar skin, but Lian not falling for it. Full bash over onto Primes into that Cyclone. Now Primes really has nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. He just caught in his crowd control, cannot help Streaming. Double blinding light going to be, or sorry, the blind coming out from that Death Knight onto Jamie, as well as Nerd Rage trying to slow down some of that damage as he was in trouble. Gets topped off. Full Cyclone coming out from Lian though. Jamie still could be in a little bit of trouble, but you know, Rocket's Eclipse, they have all their defensives available. Lian's mana looking very good. If Rocket's Eclipse can continue to play this very solid game defensively, I think they do have this game in the bag.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's why I agree that earlier Blank Esports could have had the opportunity to make those swaps. They're getting the blinding lights over onto Lian. If they use that to grip him in, get some stuns, they can definitely kill him. He's playing the PvP trinket, so he's not got that stun reduction from the Relentless Talon, but they're just not going for it, and I have the feeling it's too late at this point. You can see Astral Shift and Iron Arc both available for Jamie, and even though the Touch of Death's being kind of committed here desperately, it's definitely not going to kill him.
Yeah, but they split up their offensive cooldowns. I actually like this. They may have baited out that Iron Bark with that Touch of Death. They still have the Storm Earth and Fire. They still have the Pillar as well, so they have one last opportunity, but Streaming getting lower and lower. Icebound Fortitude might have to be tossed out. The Grip Leg Sweep, Lian immediately trinketing out of that. I love Lian's decisions. Every time he gets caught in those bad situations, he doesn't hesitate. He trinkets immediately, and it really causes his team to not fall behind. Now he's in a good spot to actually toss out those heals on Jamie. Jamie's not going to be getting too low, although this is all the offensive cooldowns coming in from Blank Esports. Jamie's in a good spot right now. Not able to kite currently, but still should be completely fine. Incapacitate over onto Lian. Jamie has that Astral Shift. Doesn't want to be too greedy with it though. The Double Fist of Fury stun coming out, but Jamie doesn't get caught in it. He's able to just kite away. Unix is drinking. Can Jamie slow it down? Manages to get that Earth Grab. This is huge for Rocket's Eclipse. Lian's mana about 50%. Unix down to around 10% mana. Streaming getting lower and lower. Trinket AMS coming out from him. So Rocket's Eclipse once again whittling down these defensive cooldowns, getting pressure where they can.
Yeah, that was really nifty positioning on the drink there from Yonex. He ran all the way into that little hole in the room, so to speak, so Jamie had to walk all the way in to stop it, but it was enough. Lyric's still low on mana, and we can see Streaming basically out of defensive cooldowns. He does have enough runic power for that Icebound Fortitude heal if he chooses to use it, but instead he's getting offensive, but the defensive fear comes out of Nerd Rage. Trinket Fear immediately mitigates a lot of that swap, because that could have been dangerous. There was no Trinket on Lian. They wanted to swap over to him with the Pillar of Frost, but beautiful play by Nerd Rage. That rotation once again from Rocket's Eclipse.
Yeah, Blank Esports, this is very, very dire for them. That is going to be the Icebound Fortitude heal coming in from Streaming. That's basically the last defensive cooldown they have available. Lian positioned, 40 yards away, just tossing out the heals. He realizes he has the mana advantage. His team, if they can just survive, they are most likely going to win this game, rotating the way that they are. Jamie has Astral Shift, so very, very tanky in terms of defensives. Lian still just positioning far away. Nerd Rage actually, I think he's going for Stormbolt onto Unix, leaping away, trying to get some sort of crowd control, so then get some CC going and possibly take down Streaming, but it looks like nothing really happening at this point. Streaming waiting for that Pillar of Frost to come back up, so they have an opportunity to get some burst out, little stun over onto Primes. That's the Incapacitate. Blank Esports has one more opportunity to maybe get some pressure going here with their offensive cooldowns, but with that Incapacitate, the way Rocket's Eclipse is positioning, it's just so difficult for them.
Yeah, and now the Avenging Wrath has run out of Unix. This is going to be the game, surely. We can see the connection. They're trying to blink away. Trinket again from Lian. He knows that this is this team's time. The offensive cooldowns are coming out from Blank Esports. This is their last chance, but it will not be enough. Streaming dropping lower and lower. Unix is running on fumes at this point. One execute will finish it all. Stun. Can Nerd Rage connect? He does. 2-0 Rocket's Eclipse.
Yeah, just textbook game coming in from Rocket's Eclipse. They just didn't overlap their defensive cooldowns. They did a good job with positioning, and that's why I really feel like Warrior, Resto Druid with that Elemental Shaman is so difficult for Windwalker, Death Knight to actually get their setups rolling. They have so many different ways to avoid going down. They're very tanky, a lot of defensives, and it's just working out very, very well for Rocket's Eclipse so far.
Absolutely, but that said, I also feel like Blank Esports, like if they can just tighten up those Death Grip stuns a little bit more. We saw every single time they managed to get a Death Grip on Lian and also catch Jamie in the stun, a cooldown came out. Every single time they did that. What was happening so regularly was the stun would go out, but there was no Death Grip. Or the Death Grip would go out, but there was no stun. Or they would do the stun Death Grip and get Lian, but Jamie would already be too far away, so they didn't actually manage to catch both of them in the stun. Whenever they managed to, you called it out in the middle of it as well, whenever they managed to get the Death Grip on Death Grip on Lian and get both of them in the stun, instantly that was Lian's Trinket. Every single time, that was Lian's Trinket right away. The reality is, you can Death Grip stun a lot more regularly than you can Trinket. So if they were just able to keep that rolling, I don't know. I feel like tightening that up could really swing this in Blank Esports' favor.
Well, I think some of it has to be credited to Leanne's positioning. He's not giving himself a spot where he's going to get death gripped easily. And not only that, if he does get death gripped, is Unix there to get the Hodge? You know, he's not really playing melee wings, which is a question I'm kind of asking myself. They're so close to getting the kill. Do you think they have the longevity with melee wings? Do you think that would be enough for them to get that push?
I just think it's so hard with the Elemental Shaman. The way that they can kite can be very, very difficult. And then, of course, you don't have the double freedom, which is so huge for Streaming to actually reconnect to his target. But yeah, like you're saying, I think a lot of that comes down to Leanne's positioning. When he doesn't have Trinket, you know, he can play a lot more defensive. When he has the Trinket, he has the Bark Skin. That's where he has a little bit more freedom to sort of push in, maybe get some crowd control when he needs to. But definitely, when he knows he's in trouble, he's not playing anywhere near this team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly true. We were seeing him, you guys were calling out as well. He was sitting at exactly 40 yards away, which is just outside of that range for the death grip. So it's definitely difficult to try and convince the other guys. Could you just move a little bit farther this way? Jamie, could you go wander a little bit closer to Leanne? We do have some replays, though, to take a look at that Chuck's going to walk us through. Let's see what you got for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the big thing about this is Blank Esports is just the aggressors. But in this game specifically, Rockets Eclipse actually comes out strong. They want to get that full stun on the streaming. But Blank Esports says, you know what? We also want to come out strong. They go for the CC initially. They get that full Hodge into the full blinding light. And I think what they're actually trying to do here is bait that Trinket from Leanne. But Leanne's decision making in this series has been absolutely perfect. He's not overcommitting. He is not undercommitting. You could tell he's really, really comfortable on this BlizzCon stage. As Adrian said, he's one of the best healers in Europe. And I think that's definitely true, and I think he's proving himself once again right here. And this is one of the situations where Rockets Eclipse is actually getting a lot of pressure, and the same thing coming from Blank Esports. Unix doing a fantastic job, not using the wings, not calling for the IBF. They actually get a lot of pressure right there, and Blank Esports goes for the counter pressure once again, the Hodge on Leanne. They try and get a little bit of pressure on him, and I think this game they're trying to put more pressure on Leanne. He's just playing the 40 yards. He's using Healing Touch, not being mana inefficient, making sure you get those heals out. But once again, Rockets Eclipse just doing a fantastic job shutting it down, and this was the last chance Blank Esports had to go for that kill. Jamie shutting down this pressure with that full Hex, and essentially giving Rockets Eclipse no chance of losing here. And then once again, they get the kill on streaming. So Rockets Eclipse just playing a fantastic job defensively, and Leanne and Jamie are just rotating perfectly. They are just doing such a fantastic job, and being in a situation like this where there's so much on the line, it's not an easy task.
Yeah, absolutely. They're playing extremely well under pressure. We know that Windwalker DK is basically pressure in a can, so they're able to keep their heads about them. Even just little things like Leanne remembering to make sure that he stays that far away. When you're dealing with the amount of pressure that a Windwalker DK puts out, that's actually no small task, just to make sure that you're constantly backing away a little bit. So we are moving on to the next draft here. This is going to be Blank Esports' last chance to sort of start their comeback here. What map do you guys think they're going to want to go to next?
Well, I mean, it seemed like the smaller map was a lot better for them. Blade's Edge Arena has been selected. You know, they talked a little bit about some unique strategies that they like to implement on this map, maybe tagging in Rook, like CD sort of alluded to on the Mistweaver Monk with the Ring of Peace. Maybe they can get some CC out that way. I'm not exactly sure, but one thing's for sure, Rockets Eclipse looking very comfortable on that Warrior Elemental Shaman Resto Druid. They're immediately locking in that, and they're basically saying to Blank Esports, let's see what you got, because at this point, they got to be feeling very comfortable being up 2-0.
Yeah, and I want to pin the spotlight on Unix because the way he's playing with the blinding light, as Sidu says, it makes it very difficult for him to land that Hammer of Justice since it's got 20 yards less range, which is giving Leanne the opportunity to outplay. When the grip comes in, he's able to displace away before the stun comes out. Since Hodge is just so much easier to land, that would be fantastic. And the blinding light, honestly, if you're going to play blinding light as a Holy Paladin, why not just bring the Mistweaver Monk? You've got the incap, you've got the leg sweep of your own to crowd control the enemy healer. If you're going to play like that, do that, have the extra damage coming in from the kicks, and it's just going to be better, I think.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see, especially on Blade's Edge, if they do decide to tag in Rook. Because that gives them a lot of options on this map specifically. Obviously, they'll have the Transcendence, so he'll be able to get away a little bit more. Also use that to get back into line of sight of his teammates if he really needs to in a hurry. We were talking about the Ring of Peace, how that gives them a lot of opportunities to sort of do the a little bit of extra playing around with the bridge. It's going to cause them to get clumped up a lot more, which is obviously very nice for the Death Knight as well as the Windwalker. I'm actually really curious to see if that's what they're going to go with here. They're certainly taking their time to talk it over. Obviously, Rockets Eclipse just immediately locked in that Thundercleave. They're feeling super confident on that, even here on Blade's Edge. And that's what they're doing. Yeah, they're bringing in Rook on the Mistweaver, along with Primes on the Windwalker, and streaming once again on the Frost DK.
I have to say I actually like the instant lock-in for Rocket's Eclipse because something you actually don't realize is it gives the other team less time to actually think about what they want to do. So you instantly locking that in means they don't have the extra time that you would normally take to think about their decision. So it's really a lot of pressure on them. And Blaze Edge is kind of a double-edged sword. You could get those incredible Ring of Pieces, but Jamie can also do the same thing. He can put you in a position where you're not going to be very comfortable. So we're going to have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, well now, I mean, streaming, he's playing that Frost Death Knight. He no longer has a Holy Paladin to help him out with those freedoms. If Jamie does position, like you said, on sort of the edge of the map and he's getting those knocks on streaming, it's going to be even more difficult for him to keep that uptime on his target. So, well, I think it could definitely be a double-edged sword. This could be a difficult matchup for them.
Yeah, we've seen them really giving it their all in the last couple of games, I believe. I was going to see if this Mistweaver tagging in is going to be the magic bean that they need to pull out a win here. We'll be getting into this game here very, very shortly. I do think it's a very interesting choice. Honestly, every time we go to Blade's Edge, I'm always really excited to see what people do, because now that we have so many maps in the map pool with Legion, if you pick Blade's Edge, it's because you're going to do something fishy. It's not because you're like, oh, I just like, I like the aesthetics of it. I like bridges. It's nothing that simple. It's always some sort of like, we're going to play around with the Z-axis, or we're going to, sometimes you see people that really prefer playing the underside of the bridge because it gets really cramped down in there, or even at the edges of the bridge. It always gets very, very cramped together. But the game is now about to get underway. We're going to be going into Game 3 between Rockets Eclipse and Blank Esports. Blank Esports is down 0-2 in this series. Maybe here on Blade's Edge, we'll start to see them turn it around.
Yep, Rook coming out. He is the last-ditch hope for Australia in this first series against Rocket Eclipse. And Rocket Eclipse, a team that we've talked traditionally about, their TSG, the DK Warrior, the Cleaves coming out. They're known for those types of setups, but Jamie has been looking very strong on the Elemental series in Game 1 here of BlizzCon 2017. And we can see the Ring of Pieces are on the side of Rook. He wants to be pushing for those. There's going to be a big mind game, actually, between Jamie with the Thunderstorms and Rook with those Ring of Pieces.
Yeah, Blank Esports really talking up that Ring of Pieces. He's actually playing Wave of the Crane as well, so this is going to be very interesting, being able to assist his team with some of that melee damage coming in from that Mistweaver Monk. Maybe they're going to be looking for those all-ins onto Lian. Could be difficult for them to get that damage over on Jamie. Jamie actually just playing on the ground. He's opting to just kite down to the ground. Streaming getting lower and lower. AMS already tossed out. This is going to be the Way of the Crane coming in from Rook as well. Grip leg sweep over onto Lian, trinketing out immediately, but it looks like they're going all in, trying to chase down Lian, but he's just so far away. Jamie doing a good job throwing out that Hex as well. But it does get broken. Lian should be completely fine. Still has Barkskin, still has Ironbark. Rook tossing out those heals. Way of the Crane is down. They weren't really able to accomplish too much. Lian getting knocked down there by that Ring of Peace, but really not doing too much in terms of offense.
Yeah, and I'm wondering actually what the Ring of Peace achieves. I mean, it's very flashy and stuff, but you're knocking Jamie off and then the melees are just going to follow him anyways. I mean, it's you have to wonder the value. We can see the win share. Can he get a heal? He couldn't get it. He had the IBF up, but he didn't turn around and Death Strike Nerd Rage, so he didn't get the healing from the talent as the Frost DK, and that was a very quick game. I don't know how he didn't get that.
I don't know how he didn't get a heal. Maybe he was disarmed or something, but it just seemed like I'm not sure.
Yeah, clean game. I mean, Rockets Eclipse, you've got to say that they did look very strong in this series. They weren't necessarily playing a composition that we know them for. Cervantes has normally been the key member of this team on the Death Knight, but just critical thinking and clean 3-0.
Yeah, I just really like what we've seen out of Rockets Eclipse, really showing their versatility. Like I said in the past, these guys really focused on that Death Knight Warrior Wrestle Druid composition, playing it through all the cups, all of European regionals, and now coming into BlizzCon, they're tagging in Jamie. He's really showing that he is a valuable asset to their team on that Elemental Shaman, and that was such a clean series from them.
Yeah, definitely a strange final game of that series, I think. Especially those final moments and how you just basically went forever without ever catching a heal. Definitely, I'll be interested to look at the replay of that one and see exactly how that went down.
I don't think Way of the Crane Monk is really the best healer for healing into a Warrior and Elemental Shaman. The single target healing you're doing is not that great, against something like an Elemental Shaman and a Warlock, where you're healing through spread damage. It's a lot more significant. When you have an Elemental Shaman kiting you, you don't get all your globals up to actually get that healing out. It becomes very difficult. So, bit of a strange choice. Ultimately, didn't work out for them.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that replay, actually, and see how things shook out in that last game.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, Blank Esports just didn't get anything done this game. There's a chance Jamie was just spam purging, and the IBF was actually forced here by streaming, but what I think happened, he was not disarmed. He just actually did not have enough runic power. So even though he popped that IBF, that could have essentially topped him. He had to use one global that you'll see right here to try and obtain the runic power. He had to use another one. He did not have enough, and on that global, he went down. And like, you know, like you guys said, the Ring of Peace looked a little flashy, but it actually didn't get anything done. It just kind of knocked Lian down to the bottom. I think Jamie was very, very smart to just take his positioning to the bottom. I think he knew exactly what they wanted to do, and I think Rocket's Eclipse was just very prepared for that.
Yeah, one of the disadvantages of playing a melee cleave on Blade's Edge is you still have to go to where the other guys are. So in the case like that, where Jamie just says, I'm just going to hang out on the bottom. I'm not going up there where you guys are. You kidding me? There's a Windwalker and a Death Knight up there. I'm staying down here. Where Lian was able to get heals onto him constantly. Blank Esports, on the other hand, as we saw, once they did actually chase down there, it looked like their healer, Rook, was not quite able to connect or able to get all that healing out. And with playing the Way of the Crane, like you said, his single target direct healing was actually not that strong in that situation. So unfortunate finish to that series for Blank Esports, but they are not eliminated. They will be playing a little bit later today to find out which we'll be finding out, excuse me, what team they're going to be playing against in one of these future series coming up here.
And before that, we have a few more matches in Group B. I think the next one is going to be Sneaky Snakes going up against ABC. We get to see sort of the fourth and final European team coming out here, going up against, you know, Sneaky Snakes, who primarily plays that Retribution Paladin with that Hunter. You know, they did a good job at the North American Regionals, but they're going up against a very difficult opponent.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's like slightly upset me is we saw North America beating Europe in the first series of today. This is Europe's chance to answer back with ABC. And one of the other things I thought was super cool is that Rockets Esports, like, they've got all the country flags on there. You can see Jamie representing the United Kingdom, Alec as well, a very spoken person when it comes to that. He's a very talented guy as well. Of course, captain of ABC. They really wanted him to stick around for this series. But on the side of Sneaky Snakes as well, you've got some really strong personalities there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're mainly known for that Ret Hunter, and unfortunately for them, I think the Assassination Arcane Mage is just going to absolutely obliterate them, and I think they know that. They're probably going to have to stay away from their main comp, which is very, very unfortunate. But we saw it in the NA Regionals. They kind of, you know, they veered away from that main comp. They were still able to knock out a very, very strong team, which was Method Awaken on those alts. So it's got to be something that they were prepared for. It's got to be something that they were confident in. And this is one of the teams that went through the NA Regionals that was definitely not expected to get through. I counted them out plenty of times. I'm up here. They're down there. So they've earned their spot here, and I definitely think that they're going to put up a fight.
Yeah, definitely. Before we move on to that next series, though, we do have one final bit of housekeeping to do for the previous one, and that, of course, is the winner's interview. We have Jackson down on the stage with Lian.
Thank you so much, Josh. Speaking of house clean, you guys gave them the clean 3-0 sweep right there. You guys got to be feeling good after that one. But when we traditionally think of your team, we think of TSG. But just now that you guys played Thunder and played it convincingly, what is it about Thundercleave that makes such a popular comp and one that you guys have picked to play?
I mean, obviously, we are playing triple mains, so we're really confident into the comp. Also, TSG is not that great at patch. We've played a lot of TSG before, but like DK got nerfed a lot. So yeah, we had to come up with other comps, and yeah, we practiced a lot of other setups.
Yeah, well, the practice showed you guys looked really sharp. And I remember when we were doing team interviews, you guys talked about how when everybody on your team is in a good mood, you feel like you guys play well. You seem to be in a good mood there because you definitely played well. How is your team's morale right now?
Yeah, we went there with like a really good, a really good mood. Every time we're trying to be really positive. We always try it in tournaments, and I think that's what makes us really like strong and yeah, really strong.
Yeah, we've heard some insights from other teams where I think the quote was "flame in practice, relentless positivity on the stage," and I think that you guys did a good job with that. And speaking of positivity, you guys seem to have a pretty positive outlook in terms of your chances for winning the whole tournament. From what you guys have seen today and how you've played today, are you guys still feeling pretty good?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, there are teams that we're scared of, that has a lot of comps, but I think we definitely have chance, and that's why we've practiced so much, and yeah, we'll see. I don't wanna, but I'm really confident.
Awesome, yeah. A healthy respect for your opponents is a good thing, but confidence is also. So thank you so much for the short interview. We're definitely looking forward to seeing you guys continue to progress, but we're going to also progress this tournament and go ahead and throw it back to Josh on the main stage.